Hello everybody. I'm going to give you a tour of this house that was built in 1900, and the interior is about, I'd say, 85 to 90% original. And the story with this house is that it was built in 1900 and it's had the original family own it for 123 years. And it was sold about a month ago, and I got hired to work on the inside, and I'm also likely going to paint the outside. The outside doesn't look that bad, but once I start scraping, a lot of this paint will come off. But the house is in excellent shape. And what's funny is I painted this house I'd say about 8 years ago now, and as you can see, I do good work. None of the paint's even peeling yet. But anyway, I painted the outside and the inside also. The inside of this house is absolutely beautiful. It's got all the corners around it. It's got archway doors and whatnot. It's like a mini Victorian. And none of my paint's peeling, so I did a good job. And with this house, I just posted a work video about I fixed a hack job from a previous painter that did a horrible job that underquote me. But anyway, once those customers saw that I do excellent work, they instantly pretty much hired me to work on this one. But let's go check out the inside. I'm not going to give a tour of the outside right now, as I'm likely just going to get hired to do it, and I'll make a video then. But as you can see, this house is beautiful and it's well crafted. It's got beautiful granite block foundations. Beautiful house. You know, they don't build stuff like this anymore. Everything's made at Home Depot, and every house is the same nowadays. So let's check her out. Even like the front door, it's got like little stained glass pieces on it. It's a beautiful house. It really is. It just needs a little love. But it's mostly original. I think there was a minor renovation that was probably done in the 60s by looking at it. As you can see with this room with the pine paneling. I actually think this room was a small addition. I'm not positive, but it kind of looks like it. And the kitchen was also remodeled likely in the 60s. As you can see, all this tile and whatnot. I'm also going to be I'm remodeling the kitchen. There's a couple bathrooms, which I will be doing also in the future. So what's going to happen is all this tile is obviously going to get ripped off, new flooring. These are not the original cabinets. These are probably from the 60s. I mentioned salvaging them, but it's really not worth it. It would take me, it's too much work. It's not worth it. So he's just going to get new cabinets. It's going to look nice in here. You know, that's actually the worst ceiling, which really isn't that bad. That's a fairly simple fix. But what's going to happen is there's a makeshift bathroom here that they just kind of threw in here because there's only one bathroom upstairs. So all this is going to be removed, and I'm pretty sure this is just going to get drywalled and painted over. And this bathroom is going to be moved into this room. So there's going to be a lot of tile work and whatnot in here. He's not sure how he's going to go about it, but me and Tim will be doing it, and it's going to look awesome when it's done. But let's check out the rest of the house. And as you can see, like all these old houses, a lot of people don't realize this, but see where the paint's chipped? You can see the original stain underneath. But back then, paint was not prevalent. Paint was expensive to buy, as there wasn't exactly chemical factories everywhere. So originally this house, all the trim was stained, and the walls all had wallpaper on it. So during the 60s, they removed the wallpaper, and they skim coated the original horsehair plaster with modern plaster. So everywhere it's kind of peeling off. I'm gonna have to repair all that. All these cracks and whatnot. And you can see here there's a little, what do you call that? I forget the name for it. There's a little access point where you can hand food over from the kitchen into the dining room. And it's got all the lights from the 60s. These are like mid-century. The homeowner said I could have these, so I'm taking them. I like selling things, so those are cool. It's got all the lights from the 60s. They're beautiful. They really are. But there's a lot of stress cracks that I'm going to have to fix. But overall, this place is in excellent shape. It's got all the original windows. And it's likely, the trim looks like it's been painted once. So it hasn't been butchered by a bunch of hacks that have painted it, 10 times over the past 50 years. This hallway here has been textured. We're just gonna paint over it. It'll look good. And that's the entryway to get outside. And there's a little room here. This would probably be considered the parlor room or a sunroom. And as you can see, there's a lot of stress cracks everywhere that I'm gonna have to repair. And he wants it done right. Like, I'm not spraying anything. Everything's getting brushed. I'm hand brushing all of this. Like, most painters would just spray this and it would look like absolute trash. Because you can't spray these old houses because the trim's not smooth, and when you spray things, the paint doesn't get into all the grooves and stuff, so you really gotta brush it. But we got a beautiful staircase here, or stairwell. Again, another cool old vintage light. But look at these railings. Look how beefy they are. You know, that's not crappy Home Depot stuff that you find in modern houses. Every modern house looks the same. I can't stand modern houses. There's no character to them. I don't care how much they cost. Got a cool little stained glass window here. I mean, look at these balusters. I mean, stuff's built to last. Up here, everything's original except these doors. I'm not sure why they got replaced, but the original doors are not present. So he's going to be taking these out, and we're going to put up some just colonial style doors so they don't look cheap and flat like these slab doors. But what's cool about here, because this place hasn't been painted, 20 times by awful painters that painted the windows shut, is all the windows work, the weighted windows. You just put a little bit of effort, they open right up. I love the old windows. The only problem is they're very drafty. But in 1900, to heat your house was cheap money because you usually had a coal-fired boiler in the basement, and back then coal was incredibly cheap. So was wood. But what kills these modern windows, like I just mentioned, is because they get painted too many times and they get painted shut. What ends up happening is people will put screwdrivers in it trying to wedge them open, so they end up getting messed up. And all this hardware, I'm probably going to take it off and put it in some paint remover so all the paint comes off it, so they're nice and new looking again. It really makes things pop. All that stuff I'm going to scrape down and, obviously prime it before I paint it. Everything's going to get caulked. It's going to look nice. It is all lead paint also. I'm not afraid of it, but it is lead. As long as you don't eat it, you're fine. And I think there's a little closet here. Yep. Like I always say, back then, people weren't as greedy. They didn't own like 80 pairs of pants and 50 shirts and 20 pairs of shoes. That's where they put all their clothes. They were a lot simpler. Yeah, we get another bedroom here. Yeah, I wish the original doors were here. I'm not sure what happened, but they're not here. Look at this window. This window's huge. And it opens like effortlessly. Just, there's like 2 pounds of pressure I put there and it just opens up. And it closes. And we get another big room here. A lot of stress cracks. They're everywhere. Not a huge deal though. Ain't the first time I've done this. When I lived in New Boston, I used to do a lot of old farmhouses. That was my specialty. And this goes to the attic. I haven't been up here yet, but I'm sure it's just it's a pretty good size attic. I'm not going to venture up there, but definitely some storage area up there for sure. And this is the other stairwell leading down to the entrance that I came into. Yeah, but overall it's in excellent shape. And as you can see, this bathroom was done in the 60s, and unfortunately we're gonna have to gut this out. I was gonna try to talk him into keeping all the pink hardware, but I don't think he's gonna want it. Because believe it or not, this pink stuff is actually in. I'm gonna try to sell it real quick. I'm not gonna take it out of here. I'm just gonna sell it on site, and if no one buys it, it's gonna go to the trash, unfortunately. But yeah, like most of these houses, a lot of them have been converted into at least a two-family apartment building. So most of these have been butchered in Manchester. And it's kind of neat that this family actually owned this house for 123 years. There was an old lady that lived here. She was probably, probably the third generation that lived in here, and they finally just ended up selling it, which is kind of sad, but as we all know, we get old and nothing lasts forever. But they're going to be renting this house out. It's not going to be cheap, but they're going to have no problems renting it. But anyway, I thought I'd give you a good tour of this little time capsule. And I'm going to do my best work here, and it's going to come out looking beautiful again. And like I said, I'm getting hired to redo the kitchen and all the bathrooms as well, so it's going to come out nice. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this quick little tour here. Later.